This one is by Chupacabro. The 10 most brutal deaths in horror movie history. And I am an avid lover of horror. I adore horror. I love it. I grew up with it. Hell, I grew up on Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees. I love horror. I love gore. I love all sorts of chaos like that in my movies. I love it. I've seen all of Nightmare on Elm Street. I've seen all of Friday the 13th. I've seen all of Hellraiser. I've seen like 2 or 3 of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I've seen 1 or 2 of the Scream. I've seen 1 or 2 of Chucky. Yep, I've seen Freddy vs. Jason. I wish they would make a second one. What other ones is there? Oh, I've seen all of Halloween as well. So I've basically seen all of the old horror slasher killer movies. I've seen a lot of the horror today. I love it. I absolutely love it. So let's check out the 10 most brutal deaths in horror movie history.
So, horror movie deaths. You can split them down the middle like a piece of firewood while their family watches. You can methodically break every single bone in their body one at a time.
Oh,
or you can do
Saw.
the one thing that's so brutal, it literally...
Oh yeah, Saw has a lot of brutal deaths. Very creative deaths, but very brutal nonetheless.
maxes out the human nervous system. I researched some of the most painful horror movie deaths in cinema history, and honestly, I kind of regret looking this stuff up. Let's start with what most people think is the worst way to go in horror movies. You know the scene. John Hurt is sitting at dinner, probably thinking about how space food...
Oh, I love Alien. I've seen every Alien movie out there. Oh, I fucking love Ripley. Ripley, when it comes to female lead characters, Ripley is in my top 3. I love Ripley. She is so badass.
Food tastes terrible when suddenly his chest decides to explode. Now, here's what's wild about this.
They did a parody of the chest burster in the movie Spaceballs by fuck, I can't remember his name. Mike Brooks or Mel Brooks. The movie by Mel Brooks, Spaceballs. At the end of it, they did a chest burster parody, and what the what the alien did, he did the "Hello, my baby," "Hello, my honey," "Hello, my ragtime gal." He just did that, and it was oh my god, it was so hilarious.
This whole thing. Kane gets face hugged by this spider thing earlier, right? And then he wakes up, and everyone's acting like he just had this really bad hangover.
Oh,
spider thing.
All right. A little anatomy history for those who like to know. These what we call face huggers. The reason why the people don't die when they have their face covered by this is because of these sacs you see right here. They are pumping air into the person so the person can live while they are forcibly laying an egg inside them. And you can't really take the face hugger off or force it off, because if you cut any of the limbs off or anything, the blood that is running through these things is acid. So it will severely harm the person that it is attached to. So the thing, I mean, once it's face hugged on somebody, that's it. It's the person's fucked. And so you would have to surgically remove the thing in the chest as quickly as possible. So like put them in stasis or something. But yeah, it's a little fun thing to learn about the facehuggers.
Earlier, right? And then he wakes up and everyone's acting like he just had this really bad hangover. The alien falls off. Kane seems fine. So naturally they all sit down for a night.
Yeah, after the facehugger is done laying the egg and everything, it dies. That's all it does. It lays the egg. Once it's done with that, it dies.
Nice meal. because nothing says let's celebrate like nearly dying from an alien parasite. Here's where it gets medically horrifying. That thing wasn't just chilling in his chest cavity having a good time. It was growing. And when it decided to make its grand entrance, it literally tore through his sternum, which is basically the hardest bone in your chest. It's not a gentle push from the inside. That's a full-on construction jackhammer going through your ribcage. The pain receptors in your chest wall are everywhere, and I mean everywhere. So when this thing starts breaking ribs and ripping through muscle, Kane felt every single bit of it. Your chest would have more nerve endings than your arm or leg, which means the pain signals going to his brain were basically screaming at maximum volume. What's even worse is that he stayed conscious for the whole thing. You can even see him thrashing around, fully aware that his body just became a horror movie special effect. Medical experts say chest trauma causes this sharp burning pain that people describe as feeling like they're being stabbed with a hot knife. I would know because I get it randomly throughout the day sometimes. Why does this happen? I don't know. My doctor says I'm healthy. Except Kane gets to feel that over his entire chest cavity while watching something burst out of him. Here's the really messed up part though. The filmmakers didn't actually tell most of the actors what was actually going to happen. They just said John's going to have some kind of medical emergency during dinner. So when that puppet alien exploded out of the fake chest with actual cow intestines and blood everywhere, everyone's reactions were completely real. Apparently, Veronica Cartwright got hit with so much blood she almost passed out on set. Imagine being her. You show up to work thinking you're filming a dinner scene, and suddenly your coworker's chest explodes and you're covered in what looks like actual human organs. No wonder she almost fainted. The rest
Not telling the people. I remember first watching this when I was 7. I was too young to be watching this movie at 7. Not telling the fellow actors what's going to happen and getting their genuine reactions in the movie. Honestly, I think that's brilliant. That is awesome because you're getting actual genuine reaction to this stuff. So I think that was a brilliant move. That is perfect.
The rest of the cast is screaming and jumping back, which is exactly what you would do if your friend suddenly became an alien birthing center. But the worst part about Kane's death isn't even the alien. It's that he probably felt his ribs snapping one by one as this thing clawed its way out. That's not a quick death. That's several seconds of feeling your skeleton getting demolished from the inside. Kane's chest explosion was brutal, but at least it was over fast. Unfortunately, Timothy Young from Saw 3 gets the opposite problem. Way too much time to think about what's happening to him. So Timothy wakes up strapped to this metal contraption that looks like someone...
I saw... Oh, this just... When I saw this, he had to watch each one of his limbs get turned I think it was a complete 180 or a 360. He had to watch each of his limbs get turned and he had to experience the pain. Just, oh my God.
Took a medieval torture device and gave it some type of twisted update. His arms are spread out, his legs are locked in place, and there's this mechanical collar around his neck, and you just know this isn't gonna end with a nice massage. The whole thing starts slow. The machine begins twisting his right arm, and you can actually hear the bones start to crack. Not a quick snap, a slow grinding sound.
And the nerve damage alone would cause... Yes.
While Timothy realizes his arm is being rotated way past where arms are supposed to rotate. And then his shoulder just gives up. But here's the thing that makes this so much worse than Kane's situation. Timothy gets to experience every single break individually. The rack isn't in a hurry. It moves to his left arm next. Same process. Slow twist, crack, pop. Now both his arms are destroyed and he still has 2 legs and a neck to go. Medical reality here is pretty grim. When you break a bone, your body floods that area with pain signals. A single broken arm can make grown adults pass out. I would know because I broke my arm jumping off a play structure when I was in grade 2.
Oh yeah, yeah, if I had the option to completely disable ads, I would. But the best thing for me to do is have 3 minutes of ads every hour. That way pre-rolls are disabled for like a half hour or so. It sucks that they don't give you the option to completely turn them off, but yeah. All right, continuing.
The play structure was only 4 feet tall. I don't know how this happened, but I'm not lying.
Oh yeah. What I was going to say was I know how much it hurts breaking a bone because back in, I think it was in first grade or so, I ended up breaking my collarbone. And for like 5 minutes, I was screaming as loud as I possibly could at the top of my lungs for my mom and dad until they finally heard me and came out. And they saw me lying on the boulevard because, yeah, and just they brought me to the hospital. I got an x-ray and, yeah, my collarbone was broken in half. What I was doing, I was riding my bike, and what I tried to do, I tried to go in between two garbage bins outside that was on the curb, and I thought it was just wide enough for me to fit through there, but it wasn't. It caught my handlebars. I flipped and landed on the curb, and I broke my collarbone. And I was about a couple inches away from being run over by a car that was coming by. So I would have had a broken collarbone and busted up legs if the car ran me over. So yeah, it fucking hurt. But I'm okay to this day.
To you right now. It was embarrassing. Timothy gets to collect the whole broken bone set. Each new break adds to the previous ones. So by the time the machine gets to his legs, his nervous system is basically screaming from 4 different locations. The legs are worse because leg bones are bigger.
They had to add that sound. They had to add that sound when they showed leg. I might be the exception. I remember breaking my wrist before, and I didn't tell anyone about it for like a few days after. Well, see, the wrist isn't one big bone. The wrist is made up of a bunch of bones. So it's like if you broke a more bigger solid bone, it would probably hurt a lot more.
More force is needed to snap them, more time to feel it happening. The femur is the strongest bone in your body. So when the rack finds...
Hey, here's the thing about the femur. If you're crushing it, putting like on each end, and if you're pushing, like trying to squish it, it takes about 1 ton of force to snap a femur. The femur is that strong.
Finally cracks it, Timothy probably felt it in his teeth. What really gets me though is that this whole torture session is supposed to teach someone else a lesson. Jeff, the guy who's supposed to save Timothy, is running around trying to find the key while Timothy is getting turned into a human pretzel. Jigsaw's whole thing is appreciate life, but apparently the way to do that is by slowly destroying someone's skeleton. The sound design in this scene alone is brutal too. Every crack and snap is loud and clear. You hear Timothy's breathing get more panicked with each break. By the time the collar starts turning his head, he's not even screaming anymore, just making these weak little sounds because his body has basically given up. And then his neck goes. Quick snap and it's over, which is honestly a mercy at that point because having every major bone in your...
And yet it did help some people who survived actually appreciated life more. Yeah. Still, it's the way the Saw guy went about it, though, was taken to the extreme, like past the extreme. Trying to make somebody appreciate their life at the expense of somebody else's life. I don't. Yeah, a good idea in theory, but there are so many better ways to go about it without sacrificing another person's life.
Your body broken while you're awake is pretty much the worst case scenario for human suffering. But at least Timothy's pain ended when his neck snapped, because Josh from Hostel gets the full deluxe package from...
Oh, Hostel. I remember this movie. Oh, what happened to the lady's eye was fucked up.
From a guy who probably failed medical school. Josh wakes up tied to a chair in what can only be described as the world's worst dentist office. Except instead of cleaning his teeth, this psycho businessman decides he wants to play doctor.
I won't spoil anything for you then, but yeah, this movie's kind of fucked up.
With the power drill in Josh's torso. Because apparently nothing screams being rich like drilling holes into a college kid from America. The whole thing starts with this guy casually explaining that he always wanted to be a surgeon, which is great. Nothing could possibly go wrong when someone with zero medical training gets handed sharp objects and a helpless victim. Well, this is what happens when you let people buy their fantasies on the internet. So he fires up the drill and just starts making holes. Not surgical holes, random holes. Josh is screaming and this maniac is just drilling away like he's hanging up a picture frame, except the wall is a human being who can feel every second.
Terrifier. Isn't that with that clown dude? What's his name? Not Pennywise, but what's his name? Art, yeah, Art the Clown. Yeah, I've heard about it. I've yet to see any of the Terrifier movies, but I've heard about it. I've heard that it is really fucked up.
Of the metal bit tearing through his skin and muscle. But here is where it gets really twisted. After turning Josh into Swiss cheese, the guy pulls out a knife and cuts his Achilles tendon. I can't even.
It just makes me nauseous.
Remembering this scene because it's so, yeah, he cuts both of them and then he unties Josh and says, "You're free to go." What a comedian this guy is. Josh tries to stand up and immediately face plants because, surprise, you need those tendons to walk. The guy severed the cables that connect his calf muscles to his feet. So Josh is just lying there trying to figure out why his legs don't work anymore, while Mr. Failed Surgeon is probably feeling very pleased with his creativity. The Achilles thing is brilliant in the most horrible way possible, because it's not fatal, but it makes escape impossible. Josh can crawl around on the floor, but he's not going anywhere fast. And every time he tries to move, those cut up tendons are sending pain signals to his
Super gory. It was a good movie series, super messed up, but geared for fans of gore horror, yeah.
leg. Your Achilles tendon is basically a thick rubber band that is under constant tension. When you slice it, it snaps back up onto your calf muscle. That alone is agony. Then you've got all the nerve damage from the actual cut, plus the fact that your foot is now just flopping around doing whatever it wants. I would know because right now as I record this, I currently have a hurt Achilles tendon. I don't know what I did to it, but just putting any weight on it whatsoever is a ton of pain. Josh probably spent those last few minutes thinking about how he could have just stayed home and played video games instead of backpacking through Europe. But no, he has to go see the world. Well, congratulations, Josh. You got to see a basement in Slovakia where some weirdo practiced surgery on you. The throat cut at the end is basically mercy after all he's been through. So at least Josh's killer knew basic anatomy to finally end his suffering, because Nick from Bone Tomahawk discussed.
Yeah, I think the dude got, not the guy that got throat cut, the guy who wanted to learn how, or wanted to know what it feels like to cut people up, I think he got killed in the end, if I remember correctly.
Discovers that sometimes the most primitive methods are also the most effective. So Nick is part of this rescue mission to save some kidnapped settlers from these cannibal cave people. And Nick gets captured, which means he's about to become the star of the worst cooking show ever filmed. These cannibals decide to start with an appetizer. They scalp him. They just saw off the top of his head with a knife and stuff his own scalp into his mouth, which is probably one of the most insulting ways to die. Not only are they killing you,
I just got a shiver down my spine when he said that.
They're also making you taste your own hair. But that is just the warm-up act, because two of these guys grab Nick's legs and flip him upside down. They then take a bone tomahawk, which is what it sounds like, and start chopping at his groin area. Not a quick chop. They're taking their time. They're really.
Oh no. Oh God. No. Oh God. I don't want to imagine that. I don't want to imagine that. As a guy, I don't want to imagine that. Oh. Oh God. Oh my God. Oh no. I felt my butthole pucker for that one. Oh no. Oh. Continue on with the video.
committed to the process, and Nick gets to hang there watching them work. Here's what makes this medically horrifying. They start at the worst possible place. Your groin has a ton of nerve endings, more than most places on your body. If you're asking why, I shouldn't need to
Yes, I'm okay, Celeste. I'm good. I think I'm good. I think.
tell you that. That area is designed to be super sensitive for obvious reasons. So when they start hacking away down there, Nick's nervous system is basically getting hit with the pain signal that his brain won't even be able to process. Pretty much he's probably gonna go into shock just from a couple hits. Then they just keep going, up through his pelvis, which means breaking through the pubic bone, through his stomach, which means slicing through all of his organs, through his chest.
Here, have a cute Pikachu eating ramen. Oh God, this just. Oh God.
Which means cracking through his ribs and sternum. They're essentially turning him into two separate people, and he gets to experience the whole journey. The worst part is that Nick probably stayed conscious for way longer than anyone should. When you're upside down, blood stays in your brain longer, which means he got to feel more of the process than if they'd done it right side up. These primitive cave people accidentally figured out the most painful way to split someone in half. What really gets me is that this whole rescue mission was supposed to save people from the cannibals, but Nick ends up getting the most creative death in the entire movie. The cannibals might live in caves and eat people, but they clearly understand human anatomy better than the businessman from Hostel. By the time they reach his chest, Nick finally stops screaming, which is probably the only mercy in this entire situation. So Nick's suffering finally ends, but our next victim...
God damn. Well, I really am immune to gore, am I? Well, just what made me just wince was the thought of where they started for splitting a man in half. Share this with a room full of dudes, and I guarantee you they will all collectively wince, and collectively you will hear their buttholes pucker. Oh, God. I think that is the absolute worst way for any man in existence to go. To split a man in half and kill him and start at the groin, yeah, I don't think I could think of a worse way for a man to go. Because that's just, whew, damn. Just the visual of that in my head was I'm here eating sherbet, and that visual went in my head.
Got torn apart by creatures with PhDs in pain, because Rhodes in Day of the Dead learns that being a complete jerk doesn't make you zombie proof. So Captain Rhodes is this military guy who spends the entire movie being absolutely terrible to everyone. He's rude to the scientists, mean to his own soldiers, and generally acts like the kind of person who yells at old ladies in the grocery store. The zombies have basically taken over the world, and this guy's biggest concern is making sure everyone knows he's in charge. Well, the zombies break into...
And this is an older... I think the guys get it. Oh, yeah. There are more Pikachus. You know what's amazing about the older zombie movies like this? Is that they can't CGI this stuff in. Because they didn't really have the technology for that. They had to get a bunch of people and do a bunch of makeup for this stuff. The amount of coordination and everything to do this stuff, honestly, is amazing.
To their underground bunker, and Rhodes tries to make a run for it. Except Bub, this smart zombie who learned how to use guns, shoots him in the stomach, which is already pretty bad. Getting shot hurts, but Rhodes isn't dead yet, just wounded and bleeding. Then he stumbles into a room full of regular zombies who are way less interested in his leadership skills and are way more interested in his internal organs. These zombies grab Rhodes and just start pulling. Not biting, pulling. They get his arms, they get his legs, and they even have this little tug of war situation going on. Except
Oh yeah, and here's the thing: a lot of people don't know about zombies versus regular people. Regular people, we can't use our 100% absolute strength. Oh, that was a firework. Because if we did, we would literally rip the muscles off our bones. Now, zombies, they don't have that little limiter in their brain like, alive people do. Zombies are, especially, early stage zombies, are much stronger than people. Now, later stage zombies, not so much because they're rotted to the point where they don't really have much strength at all. But early stage zombies are fucking strong. They are strong as shit.
That the rope is a human being who's still very much awake and alive for the whole thing. The zombies win. Rhodes gets ripped in half right at the waist. His top half and his bottom half become two separate items. Here's the really messed up part. He's still alive, still conscious, still talking. He gets to watch zombies pull his intestines out and start eating them while he was still using them. But Rhodes, being the stubborn jerk he is, uses his last moments to yell at the zombies. His final words are, which is probably the most Rhodes thing he could possibly say. Even when getting eaten alive, this guy is still an insecure, overconfident douche. Medical reality here is pretty grim. Getting torn in half means all your major organs are suddenly outside your body where they don't belong. Your stomach, liver, kidneys, they're all just hanging out in the open air while zombies treat them like a buffet. The worst part is that Rhodes feels all of it. Getting disemboweled doesn't kill you instantly. You can stay conscious for a few minutes while you watch your own organs get pulled out, which means Rhodes got to experience the full horror of being turned into zombie lunch while still being aware enough to be annoyed about it. But at least Rhodes got eaten by mindless creatures instead of supernatural ones. Because Olga from Suspiria finds out that interpretive dance can be a lot more dangerous than anyone realized. So Olga is
I've never heard of this movie. Suspiria. Huh. Yeah, I haven't heard of this one.
this ballet dancer at a prestigious dance academy that's secretly run by witches, which honestly should have been obvious from the start because dance teachers are already pretty scary without adding supernatural powers. But Olga decides she wants to quit the academy, which is apparently not the kind of place where you just hand in a 2 weeks notice. The witches decide to teach her a lesson using their signature move, making dance deadly. While the main character Susie is upstairs doing this really intensive routine, Olga gets locked in a practice room downstairs where she becomes an unwilling participant in the world's worst dance-along video. Every move Susie makes upstairs, Olga has to copy downstairs, except Olga's version involves her bones breaking. Susie does a dramatic arm sweep. Olga's shoulder dislocates with a loud pop. Susie spins around. Olga's spine twists until her ribs crack. It's basically the most violent game of Simon Says ever made. But here's what makes this worse than all the previous deaths that we've talked about. This isn't quick. The witches are taking their sweet time, making sure Olga experiences every single bone breaking individually. Her left arm snaps, then her right arm, then her legs. It's methodical, professional. These witches have clearly done this before. Olga's trying to fight it, but you can't really argue with supernatural forces. Her body is moving against her will, bending in ways that human bodies absolutely should not bend. Her shin bone breaks so hard it pokes through her skin. Her jaw gets dislocated. One of her eyes starts bulging out because they broke something in her face. The worst part is she stays conscious through it all. Usually when people get this badly injured, shock kicks in and they pass out. But the witches want her awake. They want her to feel every snap and crack. By the end, she's basically a human accordion that someone stepped on. Olga ends up peeing herself and throwing up, which is what happens when your nervous system gets completely overwhelmed. Her body just gives up on all basic functions because they're too busy trying to process pain signals from literally everywhere at once. When the witches finally show up to finish her off, she's still alive, but barely making any noise. Just soft whimpering sounds because even screaming hurts too much. So Olga's supernatural torture was brutal, but our next death uses just...
Damn. That is a hell of a way to go. Feeling every single bone over all 200 plus of your bones just getting... Oh, man, that's... Damn. That's something.
Plain old physics. Because Ashley and Ashlyn from Final Destination 3...
Final Destination! We have one.
Prove that even beauty treatments can turn into torture. These two girls decide to skip a memorial service so they can get their tan on before a party.
I remember this one. Yep, the tanning bed. Oh, yeah, this one was brutal.
Because nothing says honoring the dead like making sure your skin is the right shade of orange. So what do? They head to this tanning salon that clearly hasn't had a safety inspection since the Clinton administration. They climb into these side-by-side tanning beds that look innocent enough. Just some UV bulbs and a timer. What could go wrong? Well, apparently everything, because this is a Final Destination movie. The machines start overheating because some plant falls over and blocks the air vents and something short circuits and I don't know, which is already a bad sign when you're basically lying inside a giant light bulb. At first, the girls don't notice anything wrong. They're just lying there probably thinking about how great they're gonna look at this party. Then the temperature starts climbing and climbing, and then the beds won't open because the lids are stuck. So now Ashley and Ashlyn are trapped inside what's basically become an oven set to crispy. The bulbs are getting hotter and hotter, and they're starting to realize that this isn't normal tanning bed heat. This is my skin is actually frying like a chicken tender at KFC heat. The medical reality of what happens next is pretty horrific. When your skin gets burned, it goes through stages. First degree burns just hurt and turn red. Second degree burns blister and sting. Third degree burns actually destroy the nerve endings, which sounds good until you realize that means your skin is literally being cooked off your body. Ashley and Ashlyn get to experience all three stages in real time. They're screaming and pounding on the glass, but nobody can hear them because the salon is basically empty. They're watching their skin turn red, then blister, then start to char while they're still fully conscious. What the worst part is that they're breathing superheated air, which means their lungs are getting cooked from the inside too. Every breath is gonna feel like swallowing fire. Their airways are swelling shut while their skin is bubbling and peeling off. Then the bulbs start exploding from the heat. So now they've got glass shards raining down on their already burned bodies, because apparently just burning alive wasn't quite enough. But by the time someone finds them, they're basically human jerky. But at least those girls just died from a horrible accident instead of deliberate cruelty, because Sergeant Howie from The Wicker Man gets the
yeah, I remember that tanning bed thing, because I've seen I think I've seen all Final Destination movies aside from the newest one that just came out. But the one that has traumatized my entire generation, I believe, was Final Destination 2. And now nobody in my generation will drive behind a log truck. My entire generation, a single movie, a single part of a movie has traumatized all millennials. Every single one of them. Now, every once in a while, I run into a video of of the person in the passenger recording the person driving, and just how locked in they are and how terrified they are driving behind the fucking log truck that is in front of them. And the funniest one I've seen was a person driving behind 2 log trucks. And they were right next to each other on both lanes. So they couldn't do anything. They couldn't get ahead of it. They couldn't get around it. They had to stay behind it. I saw that video. I was like, oh, fuck.
The full religious experience, whether he wants it or not. So Howie is this really devout Christian cop who comes to this remote Scottish island to investigate a missing girl. The locals are all pagans who worship nature and do weird folk dances, which should have been his first clue to get back on the damn boat. But Howie's determined to find this missing kid because he's a good cop and a good Christian. Famous last words. Turns out the whole missing girl thing was just bait. The islanders needed a virgin sacrifice for their harvest ritual, and apparently Howie fits the bill perfectly, which you might think is pretty funny for a grown man. But let's just say I'm not gonna judge him too hard. Moving on, they march him up to this giant wicker man structure that's filled with farm animals and has a nice Howie-sized compartment in the chest. The locals are all singing and dancing around like it's a music festival, except instead of overpriced beer, they're serving up human sacrifice. Once they light the thing on fire, Howie tries to stay strong. He starts reciting Psalms 23 and praying really loudly, probably hoping that God will send down some divine intervention. But God apparently has other plans that day, because the fire just keeps climbing higher. The thing about burning alive is that it's basically every pain receptor in your body going off at once. The fire starts at his feet and works its way.
Yeah, what people also don't know is that the one thing that is considered the absolute most painful way to die is by fire. Fire is considered the most painful way to die out of any way to die, because you are experiencing it the entire time.
Up. So Howie gets to feel each part of his body cooking in sequence. First his legs start burning, then his torso, then his arms. And he's outside, so there's no smoke to knock him out. He gets the full experience. His skin blisters and bubbles. His hair is gonna catch fire. The air he's breathing is so hot, it's burning his throat and lungs from the inside. But the worst part is that he can see the islanders the whole time. They're not horrified by what they're doing. They're celebrating, singing songs and clapping while he screams and begs for help. Lord Summerisle is standing there explaining how this is all for the greater good, while Howie's literally on fire. Howie's prayers eventually turn into screams, which turn into silence as the fire finally does its job. The whole Wickerman collapses in a shower of sparks, taking Howie with it. Now, Howie's death was public theater, but our next killer prefers to kill in private, because in Terrifying...
Here you go, Celeste. You get to see Art. Art the Clown. Terrifier. Here we go. What are you saying really to? Are you, about the fire? Oh, well, we'll see.
Fire 2, Art the Clown turns a teenage girl's bedroom.
Oh, yeah. It is, it's because, yeah, it is considered the most painful thing because, like you said, it's pretty much every pain receptor in your body consistently going off at the exact same time without any relief whatsoever. And it is constant, and it takes minutes for you to die. It's not quick. It is long. And it is throughout your entire body, and it is constant and never stopping. So, yeah, it is considered the most painful way to die in existence. Now, we can't really get anybody's actual opinion on it, because you can't really talk to somebody who's been burnt alive. So, but it is considered the most painful way to die.
Into a big red mess. Allie is just a normal high school girl doing normal high school things on Halloween night, probably scrolling through social media and thinking about whether she has homework due tomorrow and obsessed with other Halloween stuff. Then Art the Clown shows up and decides her evening needs a lot more creativity and a lot more screaming. Now, Art doesn't believe in quick deaths. He's more of a craftsman, someone who takes pride in his...
Oh, that's disgusting. See, there's glass, razor blades, grasshoppers. What else is in there? What is that, packing peanuts? The only distinction I can make out is the razor blades, glass, and grasshoppers. I can't tell what those white things are. I can't tell what the red stuff is. It looks like packing peanuts. Oh, that's teeth? That's a bowl of teeth? Oh, yeah, I can see it now. Yeah, I can see the molars and stuff. But what's the white stuff and this wooden thing here? I can't tell what those two things are. So there's teeth, razor blades, glass, grasshoppers. And whatever these white things are, and this, what looks like a wooden thing. Ugh. Well, it's a hell of a breakfast bowl.
His work and really wants to explore all the different ways a human body
A Tommy gun? He just pulls out a Tommy gun?
can be modified, and Allie becomes his latest project.
That doesn't seem like a thing Art would do, is pull out a gun. He seems... I didn't expect him to be a person that would use a gun. So that's kind of surprising to me.
He starts with her face, using a scalpel to carve up one of her eyes and split her cheek open, which is already pretty bad. Art's just getting warmed.
Well, I know he can use a gun, but it just doesn't seem like he'd be someone that would use a gun. He seems somebody that'd use things that'd be more hands-on and brutal and more blunt.
Up. Your face has a ton of nerve endings, so that cut is gonna feel exactly as horrible as you'd expect it would. And then Art decides Allie needs a new haircut, except instead of using clippers, he uses a blade to saw off the entire top of her scalp. Just peels it right off her skull and leaves her sitting there with her brain case exposed to the air. So now there's blood everywhere, and Allie can probably feel the cool bedroom air on parts of her head that were never meant to experience the weather. But Art's not done just yet. He flips her over and starts removing large sections of skin from her back with a knife, just peeling it off strip by strip like it's beef jerky. Then he grabs her arm and twists it until it comes off at the elbow.
Was she alive during this entire thing? Oh, okay, yeah, it's a dream. But in the dream, was she? Oh, wow. Ugh.
Really sick part is what Art does next. He goes to the kitchen and comes back.
Oh yeah, because isn't like the second and third one where he's more of a ethereal or demonic being? Like only in the first one was he an actual real person. The gun in the breakfast bowl were nightmares. Okay. So he was never a human to begin with. Oh, okay, I get it now. Okay.
Back with bleach and salt. Then he pours bleach into all her open wounds and rubs salt into the areas where he removed her skin, which is insane. And then
that sounds so painful. Talk about rubbing salt in the wound.
And when Allie's mom finally shows up, Allie is somehow still alive, still breathing, still aware of what's happening to her, which means that she has felt every single cut, every single piece of skin being removed, every grain of salt burning into her raw flesh. So yeah, that's pretty bad. Art's bedroom torture session was...
She's alive and all this. God damn. Whoa. Fuck. Shit, man. I mean, I got no words. There are no words I can come up with to describe how horrific that is.
It was sickening, but there's still one death that's scientifically and medically worse, and that is from martyrs, because Anna discovers that some religious experiences are just too far. So Anna gets captured by the secret society of
I've never heard of this movie. It's an old one too. It's from 2008. Wow.
rich people who believe that if you torture someone enough, they'll achieve enlightenment and tell you what happens after death, which is probably the most messed up cult thing I've ever heard of. These people have been doing this for the years, systematically torturing victims to try and create a martyr who can glimpse the afterlife. Anna wins this crazy lottery and gets selected for their ultimate experiment. They strap her down and bring in an actual surgeon who proceeds to remove all of her skin, all of it. Every single inch except for a little bit on her face that they leave so she can still communicate what she's experiencing. Now here's why this is scientifically the most painful death possible. Your skin is your largest organ if you didn't know, and it contains a ton of pain receptors. Every square inch is packed with nerve endings that are specifically designed to tell your brain when something is wrong. It's supposed to protect you. The surgeon is essentially activating every single pain receptor Anna has, all at the same time. But they don't just rip her skin off. That would be too quick. They carefully peel it away section by section with surgical precision. Anna gets to feel every cut, every pull, every inch of skin being separated from her body while she's fully awake and aware of what's happening. The cult members are standing around taking notes when this happens, probably thinking they're conducting some kind of profound spiritual research. Meanwhile, Anna is experiencing pain levels that shouldn't be possible for a human nervous system to process. Her entire body is basically one giant exposed nerve. And when they're finished, Anna is still alive and still conscious, just lying there without skin, looking at these people who think they've done something meaningful. Her muscle tissue and fat are exposed to the air. Every breath probably feels like getting stabbed everywhere at once. The really twisted part is that Anna apparently does achieve some kind of transcendent state near the end. The pain is so intense that her brain basically short circuits and she starts seeing visions or whatever these lunatics were hoping for. But before she gets to that point, she experiences what is essentially the maximum amount of pain the human body can generate. Every pain receptor firing at once. So there you have it. After researching pain receptors, nerve endings, and way too many horror movie deaths, Anna's Flaying in Martyrs is clearly the winner. It's not the goriest, it's not even the longest, but it's the one that's going to cause the most pain in the human body. You made it through this entire video without clicking away. Congratulations on having a stronger stomach than most other people on YouTube. So hit the like button if you enjoyed this and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. And let me know down in the comments which death you think is the worst or if there's any I missed. I'd love to know what you guys think. And if you loved watching this video, you should watch the video on screen now because I bet it'll be even better.
Okay, I honestly think without dying, that's I would have to say that's more painful than burning alive, because she's consistently living through that and not dying. Yikes. I just